Hi, everyone from the Blockchain Game Alliance. This is Serena. I'm very pleased to introduce you to Leah and Sheen today from Emfarsis. Hello, guys. How are you?
Very well,
Serena.
thanks. Thanks for having us.
Wonderful to have you. And today we're going to be discussing the yearly report that Sheen and Leah helped us putting together at the BGA. So we're going to be discussing how the year looked like in blockchain games and what are the highlights for next year. But before we do so, I'll give you a short introduction to what the Blockchain Game Alliance is and all the different partners and members that have joined us and make all these live events available. Also, this event is our final event for this year. We're very grateful for everyone's support, and we're very much looking forward to welcome you all to the BGA and into the blockchain gaming industry next year. So here we go. Just telling you a bit more about the Blockchain Game Alliance, and I can see also Sebastien is joining us. So he's the best person actually.
Hello.
Hello, Sebastien. We just started. Welcome.
Okay.
How are you?
Hi, everyone. Hope you're well. Sorry, 2 minutes late.
No worries. So we just started. If you want to have the honor to present the BGA as usual, I just have the slides up so you can go through it, and then we'll welcome Leah and Sheen to the report for this year.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Hope everyone is well. So the Blockchain Game Alliance, if you're not familiar, we are an organization that's committed to promote the adoption of blockchain technology within the video game industry by showcasing all the different possibilities that it enables for creating new games, publishing games, engaging players, developing communities, and more, showcasing possibilities offered by NFTs, decentralized gaming, DAO, DeFi, and other use cases. Our role and some of the core activities is essentially around networking, connecting our members, offering new business opportunities among them, establishing working groups to keep researching possibilities of linked to decentralization, establishing new standards, etc. Representing blockchain game companies, offering more visibilities for members, allowing them to get more users and access for press, media, and more. And of course, advocating for blockchain to the wider game industry, educating all the new entrants on how to use those technologies, etc. I'd like to give a big thanks to all our sponsors. So AMD, My Neighbor Alice, Innovium, One Way Blocks, Star Atlas, Gift Game, Tevarera, Empire, Win.com, Decimated, Dogami, Mirror World, Starmon, DNA XCat, Gameloft, Fear, Zaya, Ubisoft, Splinterland, Vulcan Forge, Super, Avium Megacorp, Cryptomon, Syndrome, Non-Fungible, Digital Asset Group, Gamerhash, Game Exchange, IOI, TriumphX, Drops, Cartesi, Sushi, Swap, Cardia Chain, Yushi, NFTB, Nextap, Chromia, Polygon, Boson, Tesos, NRKX, Algorand, Cointribune, Galaxy Interactive, Consensus, Polkadot, Dacoco, Hackernoon, Bitcraft, Animoca Brands, Dapradar, Simplex, G2A, Unix, Criterion. And well, that's it. That's a large list, as you can see. That shows like how it's been an exciting year. And here, all our members between games and gaming companies, chains and protocol, marketplaces, media, investors, and other companies from all corners of the industry. We run all sorts of activities at the BGA, which includes workshop on several thematics, interviews, panels, new member presentation once a month, as well as a demo day once a month. I think we held more than 50 events this year, almost once a week. So it's been really an exciting and interesting year. And without any further ado, let's talk about the key topic of the day. Let's introduce the 2021 member survey and report with a very special guest today, which contributed to building this report. We have Leah Callon-Butler with us. She's the director at Emfarsis, we have Serena Tabacchi, who is also a member of the Blockchain Game Alliance and has been helping out through the year and across all events, and myself as the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance. Chin as well is here and representing Emfarsis as well.
Right. Thank you so much, Sebastian.
If you like to, yes. And if you like to learn more about the Blockchain Game Alliance, you can follow us across all media, Twitter, Discord, Telegram, or Medium, and of course the website where you can join the BGA.
Thank you so much, Seb. I think Chin is going to give us a quick introduction to the report and to the work that is being put together, just as an overview, and then we'll discuss it a bit more into details. So welcome, Chin, on stage.
Thank you, Sebastian and Serena, for introducing us. So yeah, if we can just flash the slides that we have in here. So I'm just going to give the overview of the report. So the purpose really of the survey, member survey and report, was to assess the views and the state of the industry from the BGA members. It's to lay the ground for BGA's future projects coming into 2022. So we uncovered some really good insights and interesting data points from the first ever BGA survey. So if we go to the next slide, here we go. I'll discuss the methodology and demographics. So this is usually the most boring parts of the report, but I promise you we uncovered really good data points from here. So the methodology and how Emfarsis created the survey is that we uncovered pressing topics and issues from interviewing 11 BGA board members. So we really considered different perspectives into building the survey for this one. And I'd like to thank the membership and board members who actually participated in that. We saw some overlaps on the pressing issues and also uncovered some really interesting and not so talked about topics that we incorporated in the 20-question survey. So because this is the first ever survey of the BGA, a challenge that we actually encountered in creating the survey and having the membership base answer it is that the BGA and the Blockchain Game Alliance, the blockchain game industry is actually a niche industry. It's a burgeoning industry, and we only had a limited sample size. So we decided to open the survey to non-BGA members who are also working in the blockchain gaming space. And 212 respondents actually answered the survey from 118 companies. So 61% of the respondents were BGA members, and the remaining 39% were not members of the BGA. And interestingly enough, after we closed the survey, 66 new members of the BGA actually joined you guys. So even the people who answered the survey who weren't part of the BGA before actually joined. So it really shows that it's a growing alliance and it's a growing industry. So moving into the demographics, it's not a surprise. Most of our respondents were mostly male. It also is the same with like the tech industry. And I think discussing this topic when it comes to diversity and having female representation is something that Leah will discuss further into the event. When it comes to age, majority is 25 to 34 years old. So it shows that it's a really young industry. And they're mostly located in Europe and Asia, as opposed to like the usual tech scene based in the US. So that is also an interesting insight. And Asia is also one of the hot regions when it comes to play to earn, as you will see in the report provided data by the App Creator, which is one of our collaborators for this report. When it comes to job tenure, most of the respondents are in their roles for less than a year. So it really shows that the industry is just starting and more is yet to come. So for the insights, I throw it to Leah to discuss more into it.
Thank you so much, Chin. I think that was a brilliant overview. And anyone who actually contributed to this report, whether it was answering a survey or providing a comment as we followed up when we were actually putting together the findings, I think most of you would have had something to do with Chin because she did an amazing job. pulling all of this data together to put it into this really beautiful report at the end of the day. And there were a lot of members to work with. So thank you, Chin. You did an absolutely incredible job. So what we wanted to do today, like it's a pretty extensive report. It's quite in depth and it goes into a real breadth of issues. So we've tried our best to condense it down into a few key takeaways and groupings. What we thought today would be really useful is to just go through them and get thoughts from Seb and Serena in terms of what does this actually mean? You know, how do we unpack this based on the year that's been, which has been probably the most incredible year yet for blockchain gaming, and what we're going into next in 2022. How do we actually, you know, unpack this and figure out what matters? So let's just work through these key takeaways. I think the first grouping I want to look at is survey respondents. And, you know, I found this quite interesting. So I'm interested to hear what you guys thought, but the majority of respondents to this survey identified as gaming professionals as opposed to blockchain professionals. Sure, they were, you know, a close runner-up, but the majority of people were actually saying, no, I come from the gaming industry and now I'm working in blockchain gaming. Was that a surprise to you? Because I think most people assume that it's blockchain or crypto people driving this space. You know, Seb, can I throw that to you? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I was going to propose to Serena to take the first answers, but happy to go over. Yes.
Give yours and then I'll add mine.
Yeah. And this should just be just a flowing conversation as well. So please add in, Serena, wherever you have any thoughts. But to me, this was actually pretty surprising. I think there's been so much criticism about, you know, blockchain games aren't fun or something, and people are saying there's not enough gaming people in the space. But actually, I think this report tells us there are a lot of key gaming people in this space driving it forward.
Absolutely, yes. I think that to me came as a surprise because often those words aren't part of our daily vocabulary. So I think we got more and more used to the sound of what blockchain, crypto, NFTs, and so on sounds and means. But at the same time, you know, the space has grown so fast. I mean, just in the last 6 months, so many different blockchains and projects came to life that not knowing about this, not even from the media, it would be a surprise to me. So how people identify themselves, that is still something that needs to be discussed. And I think people need to really better understand what those words stands for. But the fact that the gaming industry, it is one of the largest industry by far in the space, that doesn't surprise me. So I think people have the freedom to pick whether they want to stand for more tech side or more game and, you know, entertainment. But at the end of the day, all these different arts, I want to call them, will blend together. So what we call today the metaverse or, you know, Web3, it would be part of the same thing in my vision.
Super interesting. What do you think, Seb? Do you identify as a gaming professional or a blockchain professional? I'm going to say gaming.
Yeah, but definitely I've been 10 years in gaming. But I think like what it really goes to is like blockchain is mostly a technology. It's about like anyone who will identify himself as a blockchain expert would probably refer more towards like I'm building the different like protocols, etc. And people at the Blockchain Game Alliance, they are not, most of them, they are not building protocol or the blockchain itself. They are building application services, the layer, the first front end toward the users. And that's more, and since we are essentially developing for most of us, those apps that engage, entertain, bring them fun, bring retention mechanics, and etc., it really goes back to the idea of and a new definition of what gaming is. What's interesting is like it's not necessarily the same kind of gaming that it used to be, but it's also something like we've seen before. When the Wii came and introduced casual gaming, brought new kind of players more into the older audience. When mobile came and hyper casual or more and reach out to new audiences. And I think like whether we are talking about blockchain gaming, crypto gaming, etc. At the end of the day, we're essentially building products that are fun, that make us spend time to be entertained, and definitely fall within the definition of what gaming is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the takeaway from this too is that, you know, it's kind of difficult when you're asking people, what space do you come from? Because currently this space is all about blending expertise and knowledge to create something brand new. So it is kind of difficult to ask people that question. And to be honest, I'm sure a lot of people struggle to answer it, to say, you know, where do I come from? Where do I fit? And we're all struggling with those identity crisis issues. But the next key takeaway, I think, really sort of leans into that, where we found that, you know, this is an incredibly young, nascent space. You know, 42.5% of people who answered the survey had been in their current role, whatever that is, at their current company, which was obviously a blockchain gaming company, for less than a year. And 81% of all survey respondents had been in it for less than 3 years. So I think, you know, that really reflects on the fact that this is why it's kind of important to understand, well, where are the people coming from? Where is the talent coming from? What expertise is gravitating to this space? And I think that's actually, you know, it's important not to gloss over that, because if 81% of the people in this industry have only been in it for 3 years, that's pretty extraordinary. We're not talking about broad gaming or broad crypto. This is a space of its own. You know, was that a surprise to you, or was that, you know, you thought, I already knew that?
I think it, you know, I can just take that one and then I'll pass it over. But it's not surprising to me, because 3 years ago I was doing something completely different. And then I happened to discover blockchain and the different opportunities that an entire world opened up to me. And I started learning, you know, as if, you know, that was the new thing to learn. And I think a lot of people I've met in my generation, but also older or younger, definitely way younger than me, are knowledgeable about all these terms and are eager to be part of this. And something I also wanted to mention is that it's a very welcoming space. I don't think there's any barriers to this. The fact that we were chatting before going online, most of us work from remote, from different countries, from different time zones. There's literally no limits. And I think that's one of the beauty of the blockchain game industry.
It's hard. It's not hard, but it's definitely like a nascent industry. Like even the oldest companies that have been creating this industry are exactly 3 years old. So, and we call them pioneers in a way. Yet it's 3 years is such a short time frame, which means like it's hard to call anyone an expert in the industry of blockchain gaming. I think anyone is an innovator, which means someone is ready to take risk, someone who is ready to like be a trailblazer, test things. And it's exciting to see as well, like more and more people are coming into our industry, which reflects the growth in terms of project and members at the BGA, which to me, that's really what this metrics is showing here.
Yeah, there's also an interesting comment that I wanted to address from the public. Aloy is saying that it didn't come from neither of gaming or blockchain industries, but this year they learned so much about both, and you know they also made games and invested in it. So I think it's pretty interesting to also notice that users, you know, players and anyone in the industry is also pretty young in terms of knowing the space and participating in it, but at the same time so eager to be part of it.
Yeah, look, before we move on from that, Serena, I just want to ask your opinion on something, because one other thing we did uncover from the survey is that, you know, there's a real lack of representation from women in this space, despite the fact that when we did send out the survey, we did ask members to make sure that they shared it with their female peers, colleagues, investors, advisors, and so on. And as Chin mentioned as well, it's probably not surprising that we work in a tech industry that isn't well represented by women. But you did mention that this is an incredibly welcoming space. And I know I have felt that personally. So in the survey, we saw that probably about 1 in 5 respondents were women. They were less likely to be founders. They were less likely to be in executive or senior positions. And they were more likely to have been in the space for a shorter period of time. So, what's your take on that, Serena? What do you think about that? Like, is there a need? Can this be changed? Is there an opportunity to change this?
Well, I hope so. That's why we're here. And there's like 3 women on this panel. So I hope so, definitely. In my view, I believe that there's been, for years, lack of education. There haven't been so many opportunities for women to study more, tech science at school. We were normally advised to take more classical studies, like literature, philosophy, and so on. And that's part of what I studied as well. And that is, at least in my personal opinion and in my cultural background, what happens to most women and also people that are less privileged, to get access to a good internet connection or having multiple devices that they can use to connect. Luckily enough, all these things became way more accessible today. So I do hope that within 5 to 10 years, we will see a shift and get way more women and way more, people from different countries, from, with different backgrounds participating into this, which is already a fact, is already happening. But I think it will take us a few more years, and definitely education, talking to people, telling them that this world exists. That is already a great thing to do. And I'm so grateful for the BGA for giving me this opportunity, because I've met so many great talents and definitely encouraged women to take a bit more of ownership into that job, to step up and to actually build their own projects with no fear. So hopefully we'll see a percentage growing very soon.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but I think you've done a great job providing a platform. Seb, did you want to add to that?
I'm very honored to be today in minority. I wish it will be something more often. We tried a few times this year to give more speaking opportunity to the different women who might be entrepreneur or building in tech in this industry through a series of panels, and I'm looking forward to do it again next year. Anytime we encourage a woman to step forward, to go through her idea, to launch a game, to engage with the community, and maybe I wish one day to become the next president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, I think we'll be achieving this goal. And I know, to me, it's important. It's an important goal, the diversity, because I think it's really, we need our industry to be as inclusive as possible. We want to make change for players. We want to make change for communities, and we should also make change into like how the traditional tech industry has been forward. So that's my conviction.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And, I really appreciate the fact that the BGA is recognizing that there is a problem. It's very easy to kind of, push these things away by saying, well, we had enough events and, we've invited enough people. It's about really recognizing that there is a persistent issue. And unless we address it head on and identify opportunities to plan activities to actually shift the dial, then, we don't see a change. And that was really the purpose of this report, to uncover those kind of issues. So I think everyone will be really looking forward to seeing what is planned out for 2022 to try to change that. So moving right along, we did want to try and keep this event fairly short and sweet, because we know everybody has very busy schedules. The next grouping, I think, is a bit of an overlap. So I might actually sort of jam them all together in terms of industry drivers. To give you a little bit of an overview, we're looking at things like, we can all agree, and I think most of the survey respondents, 68% at least, agreed that play to earn has been the biggest industry driver in terms of growth for blockchain gaming this year. Now, the next two things that come after that, skipping down to the third takeaway, but that idea of true ownership of digital assets is really the game changer here in terms of why people are flocking to these games, what has actually changed, and what people are building for. But what I would say in the middle is that gameplay is still top of mind for people. So when I say people, anyone building in this space, maybe you could help us unpack that a little bit. Play to earn, digital ownership, all these underlying, new concepts that we're building from the ground up that are brand new. But I think the rest of the world is still expecting exceptional gameplay. So are we seeing a little bit of friction there? How do we bring these concepts together?
Seb, I think you can address this one.
I think like definitely there's an argument of favor of saying like once blockchain games will be on the same on par with in terms of quality, in terms of fun, in terms of production value than traditional games, then it will be a no-brainer for traditional gamers, people who are already playing those non-blockchain games such as GTA 5, etc., to move into blockchain-based games. That's partially true. But what we've been seeing, and this is definitely something that members of the BGA have been leading the forefront, such as Axie Infinity, NBA Top Shot, Alien Worlds, My Neighbor Alice, is that there's also a great opportunity for more innovation, for creating gameplays that relate to this true ownership, that involve like community staking tokens, participating into governance, which are new mechanics, and mechanics that can also create like major disruption, major shift in how people are usually interacting with game. Like for the first time, Axie Infinity has been bringing masses from people in Philippines, which are never been playing games before, and suddenly interact with their family, with their community, within villages, town, and even more, to get together to participate into even social movement beyond. So it become more than just gaming. We've seen people like taking and engaging with game beyond the game. Like they are going on forum, they are going over Discord to bring together their friends and to engage with the meta gameplay surrounding tokens as well. So those are new things that will, in my opinion, even inspire traditional gaming, and we'll see a blend. And the next big title will probably be the one that understand that once you empower communities and you let them own asset, let them own economy, you actually gain much more than just the economical value benefit from it.
Absolutely. Did you want to add anything, Serena?
I agree with Seb. I think it's been in the process, like all these different things you mentioned, Leah. They are part of the progress we're making that the technology has allowed us. Once people will become part of the entire system and they will understand what digital ownership means, I think we are shifting from like Web 2, where we were free to do something on the web, on the internet, and Web 3 for me, it's more like being free from their corporates or companies, and just build your own space. And so I think this digital ownership and the dynamics of play to earn will be part of our daily life. But it will take some time for everyone to become more knowledgeable about the space and crypto and so on. But at the same time, I definitely believe this is the future, and it will empower so many more people around the world.
Yeah, I'm hearing that from you, that, gameplay, enjoyment, excitement, fun is always going to be top of mind for game makers. But what we're building here is not just a more fun game or just an NFT drop. We're actually trying to build something completely new from the ground up. And the way that gameplay even interacts with these new ideas has to be completely new. So it is kind of important, I think, to put this into context. Like, I love the stories that you tell, Seb, about, 8 co-founders of the BGA in 2018. I mean, that was literally a blink of an eyelid away. So, not a long time ago, but in the space of NFTs, it's ancient. And, this space is still incredibly new. So we have a long way to go, but it's pretty exciting to think about what has happened in the space of 2021 that's really put this new area of innovation onto the map. So I love what you're describing there in terms of what is trying to be built here and what we can expect in the year to come, because it sounds like it's something that nobody has ever seen before. So moving right along, because I know we're over time now, but moving forward, I think that's what everyone's excited about. We had 3 key takeaways here. These are kind of thorny ones. So, let's dive into them. The first one was that 86% of survey respondents were quite sure that at least some of the traditional gaming industry would be using blockchain within 2 years. 2 years. Now, that is, just to put that into context, we've seen that there has been a lot of FUD, a lot of pushback from the traditional gaming industry this year against NFTs and, with all different types of angles that they can take. But I think anyone who works in this space would have really felt the pushback this year. It's been extremely strong. So for the inner circle to say, you guys are all going to be adopting this within 2 years is pretty bullish. Just going to put that out there. The other things that we have, though, I think kind of maybe point to the reasons why people might be pushing back. And I think that's really important to absorb. So we've got 52%, over half of respondents said that regulatory uncertainty was right up there. And I think that's pretty much a consensus across the entire crypto industry. The regulatory landscape out there is basically a patchwork quilt across jurisdictions. It's incredibly difficult to navigate. So that is a difficult space. And then when you chuck in gaming with it, it just sort of adds an extra layer. So that's a difficult one. And if you actually go and download the report, we do have some really interesting key takeaways from legal experts that are members of the BGA who have dug into things like IP and digital rights, as well as anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. So jump in there and have a look. They've really given some really interesting insights that we won't get time to dig into today. But the other thing I think is just education. Education just kept coming up in terms of the fact that a lot of the people, whether it's inside or outside the space, don't really fully understand the core concepts underpinning this new technology and this new ideology. So maybe we can kind of group that a little bit in terms of, if we're so bullish that, the traditional industry is going to be embracing this within a short period of 2 years. I guess that's a long time in crypto, but let's say 2 years. Are you feeling that regulatory clarity is going to come and, we can rely on the community to educate? Like, what is this telling us?
I'm surprised that it's about only 2 years. Like, just in November, I was at this conference, and we were hosting this Slush Future of Gaming event. And anyone in the audience of more than 100 plus people building from a video game, they were like, we're already working on something that will involve blockchain. So definitely the next generation of game, that next wave of game, I think there's not a single company from the largest top gaming studio to the smallest indie one now that are preparing something. And for sure, that will bring some change in 2022, new competition, more innovation, and potentially as well start raising more awareness and more attention from regulators. We're already seeing it in Korea. Korea has been quite a few times. We're hearing like the game rating committee and the different authorities that are starting to regulate what blockchain games are, but they are not taking it. They are mixed feedback in the way they are approaching it, because they are just trying to label it as one single thing and not really taking into account that not each game is the same. So not each game has the same mechanics and how they're using NFTs. And it's indeed one of the role of the Blockchain Game Alliance. And any of their members to educate better about like how they are using blockchain, how they are also taking care and protecting their users, because I believe we have a responsibility on that matter. Like decentralization doesn't mean that, well, we are giving up on our own responsibility as platform or game operator to educate users about some potential risk they have, on the fact that they are the owner of their asset, which means like we have no way to recover it for them, and so they should be more careful, take some security measures, and also not push forward some practices that would be abusive or misleading in how they could be interpreted, such as like pushing towards potentially like unfair gambling or non-skill based gameplay elements.
Yeah, it's an incredible challenge. I mean, just the intersection between crypto and gaming is complex enough, but then gaming and crypto are two complex areas. And then, who are we even, trying to educate? Is it the players, the developers, the regulators, the policymakers? It's incredibly complex out there. So, I completely understand what you're describing there in terms of a challenge. Serena, what does it look like for you?
Definitely. I think it's been a very interesting year, and what is yet to come is an even more exciting one, in my opinion, especially for what...
way to put
it. Yeah, we'll who knows what we're going to see in 6 months' time, right? So what Seb highlighted is very important as a takeaway, because definitely not all games are the same and they don't have the exact same needs. But at the same time, we have the opportunity here to shape the technology and influence the technology more than shaping it. Two, definitely advise everyone else in the legal industry and anything that relates to it, because often those people come to us as in people within the space, whether it's gaming, blockchain, NFTs, and so on, to hear what's coming next and to be ready for these industry, to put that service, and make it available to people that will need what they will craft. So it's a never-ending communication flux that, in my opinion, is going to become more and more, it will consolidate more and more. But the technology will keep advancing and evolving. So at the same time, we'll have to keep our mind very flexible and to be very open towards what will come. But at the same time, these will be the norm. I don't think blockchain, NFTs, and all that comes with it will be forgotten or put aside. That will be crazy, in my opinion. We'll just need to embrace it and at the same time find the right way to regulate it. So education again.
Yeah, and I guess to wrap up, like, Chin, could you grab the growth numbers? Because the growth numbers of BGA this year have been insane. I think what I'm hearing is that this is an industry that has been building for quite some time, but it's only just sort of been noticed by the mainstream this year. And that has brought incredible funding, incredible growth, incredible innovation, to actually make it, the darling of blockchain innovation in 2021, which is pretty exciting. For people like yourself, Seb and Serena, who have been working on this for years, I think you always saw this coming. It was a matter of when, not if, and perhaps it even came even sooner than we all thought, or maybe faster. But the year to come, I think, will be challenging. And there's going to be a lot of people with difficult, tricky questions. I think that's where the BGA comes in and why the growth numbers have been so important this year. Thank you, Chin. Over 300 members now, but that's actually 186% growth since 2020. So, I guess the BGA is sort of becoming a bit of a magnet. It is a true alliance with people recognizing that there is a lot of extremely complex challenges coming up in the year to come. And we need to get together as a community to be able to address this in a very, constructive and authentic way. So I guess the BGA is sort of representing a bit of a Rolodex of who's who in industry in case someone needs to talk to the right people, but also, I guess, a hub to be able to collect the challenges and opportunities that people are facing, consolidate that information and knowledge, and figure out a way to be able to turn that out into something that is going to be of use, not just to its members, but also the people who are looking in. And that could be regulators, it could be investors, it could be anyone. So, that was really the purpose of this report, just to take a pulse, find out what people are thinking, collate it into our first ever survey and report, and kind of look to the year ahead in terms of where do we go from here. So I think the year ahead is going to be exciting. It's going to be challenging, but it's pretty exciting to see BGA as an anchor for that moving forward. So anyone who might have watched this tonight, if you do have questions, please get in touch with the BGA. Seb, Serena, I'm sure you'll put all of the contact details at the bottom of this video. And very soon we'll be releasing a bit of a plan for 2022 in terms of what will be tackled next. That's all for me. Want to hand it back to you guys in case you had any closing comments.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leah. I just pulled on screen our contacts and ways in which you can get in touch and ask questions. Download the report as well, as you'll find so many interesting takeaways from it. Something I wanted to add is that the BGA is an open forum, is an open space. And I really want everyone to consider that because we do have different social media channels such as Twitter, Discord, and Telegram, where we are building the community, and everyone is very free to share their opinion and to make connections. So this is something we've been very proud of. We've been facilitating those meetings and open up conversations. So if you do have items you wish to discuss in the new year or want to participate and join it, please do so. We'll be very happy to welcome you into the BGA.
Just want to add to that, we'll be welcoming a new community manager as well next year. So we'll have a full-time person in charge of engaging conversation over the different social media channels, Discord and Telegram, and working more closely with every one of the members to push their news toward the broader community, find out various topics that they want to get involved with or talk about. And welcome new contributions. We hope so hopefully the COVID situation around the world will enable travel and conference again next year. And we hope to be, again, more present physically to help members connect during a specific dinner event, or by being present and sponsoring and having a booth where members can come and demo the different product in person as well. I think there's always this need for connection that we've been all lacking for the past 2 years, and we hope to resume next year. And beyond that, any suggestion you have, don't hesitate. Any question you have around how do I get started, etc. Also we'll be working on more tutorial and guidelines, and we hope that through our common efforts, we'll be helping more members to join and the video game industry more broadly to understand what it truly is to integrate blockchain within a game.
Lots coming in the new year. So once again, from the BGA, we thank so much Leah and Shane for being with us and for helping us present in this year's report. And we're very much looking forward to bring even more news and insights from this industry in the new year. So once again, Leah and Shane, thank you so much for joining us today.
Merry
Thanks,
Christmas.
guys.
Thanks for having us.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays
Happy
to
holidays.
everyone.
Take care,
Thanks,
everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.